So I'm going to explain you a project that is the Galica project that was funded by the BNF Data Lab, and which aimed at using the digital library Galica for environmental studies, and more specifically for researchers that are involved in environmental history. So basically what we aimed was to develop tools for data mining in order to navigate into the digitized documents of the BNF to find specific subjects. So the problem is that first there is an exponential growth of the digitized documents in the field of environmental studies, so that's interesting, but because it makes a lot of potential data to produce. However, most document classification systems rely on traditional academic discipline boundaries, which does not fit with environmental approaches, because usually they are transdisciplinary. And also most environmental concepts are quite modern. So, for example, when you study documents that date back to 300 years ago, you won't find terms like climate change, biodiversity, or this kind of concerns. Also, the term itself of environment is very polysemic, and for example, it can mean just a surrounding, or if you're an ecologist, it can mean organisms that are interacting. So it's the concept of environment itself can be difficult to define. So we had first to make some kind of conceptual framework to define on the more on the border on a way that could fit every meanings of this term, and I propose that we define environment as a collection of entities that interact with a material entity, but are not part of this material entity. So these are mainly external entities interacting with the core entity. And what we want to do is to identify, classify relevant documents on specific environmental topics according to a type of environmental entities or relationship or issue. So the concept is that if things are related, they should you should find relationships into documents. So if you explore the semantic environment of a text, you for example here for bois et forêt, forest and woods, you will find semantic markers that are in interaction with this, and those who belong to the environment of woods and forests. So we shift from environmental search to semantic environment. So we want to find semantic links between semantic markers. Then, in order to do that, we produced a certain number of tools which can be considered as a toolbox, and that can be used in different ways according to your research interest. So first we have BNF database investigation tools, which rely on the API Galica and also on the Ramo indexing language. We have a set of text and processing and encoding tools in order to get the outputs of this search and treat them into data. And then once we have data, we have tools that allow visualization and analysis of the structure of the data of the documents. So I will show you three different approaches for this, which are always based on semantic relationships. First tool is using the Ramo indexing language, which is an index of authorities, which is used by the BNF to index topics of the documents. So when you go to the Catalogue Général of the BNF website, you can search for certain topics according to the Ramo category. So for example, if you search for environment, you have hundreds of topics that will appear. And then you can choose one of the topic, and here, for example, gestion de l'environnement, environment managing, you have the topic, and inside this topic you have the associated topics, okay? Which means topics that are upper level, topics which are lower level, and also laterally associated topics, okay? When you search into this, you have a collection of topics which is not structured, and it can be quite difficult to navigate into that, because if you have a lot of topics, it's difficult to find exactly what you want. And when we worked with our environmental historians, many times they did not find what they wanted. They told me, oh, I can't find wilderness, but when I was looking for, there was wilderness. Okay, so you need some kind of a way to navigate and make data mining into this kind of objects in order to find what you want, and also to visualize connections between things. And connections between things means probably environmental relationships. So we take the output of this, which is in Unimark format, which is very often used in libraries, and which encodes the labels that you have shown just before. And then we make a parsing to find the other labels that are connected with this label. Okay, so here the label is environmental justice, and you have similar terms, environmental equity, etc., etc. General topics, upper level concepts, and sometimes you can have lower level concepts, which you don't have on this precise topic, but which can exist. So you have connections between topics, and we want we want to visualize the structure of these connections. So we parse these connections, we encode them into a binary table, okay? So if you try to watch this table, it's quite impossible to read, because it's a very sparse table. Okay, it means a lot of zero and very few one into, but there are ways to visualize and to understand the structure of this. We developed a tool to visualize the hierarchical structure of this matrix, and this is what it gives. So if you search for environments, you have all the labels here, and they are grouped in a hierarchical way, which means in a tree shape together. And you can also identify clusters with a scalable tool to know, for example, here you should have labels that are tightly connected, okay? And then you have the list of the different clusters. Here, for example, are the clusters of labels which concern water and environment, okay? So you have under, for example, I don't know, rivers and humidity of the soil, hydrospheres, etc. So this allows you to navigate into the structure of the labels. So another example is here, if you are interested in the environment of pastoralism activity, you can find, you make a search with pastoralism, and then all the labels that you have are here, and you see that it's organized into different topics. For example, here you have grazing laws, pastures, pastoralism, agrarian festivities, and here is the natural environment, which is linked with pastoralism. Okay, you have here plants on meadow, ecosystems linked with pastoralism, and here the fauna, which is linked with pastoralism. And if you go back, you can see that this tree is organized in a precise way. Here you have the natural environment. Here we could say that you have some kind of cultural environment, the way pastoralism is integrated into cultural things. And here it's some kind between both, since it's the cultural management of the environment of pastoralism. So these tools allow you to visualize the links between different topics and thus to understand the structure of a certain environment. Okay. So I'm gonna, okay. Then you can go into the Galica search tool, which is made by using just words. And we extended this possibility using proximity terms, okay, but collection of proximity terms. Here, proximity means link, and so probably environmental relation. Here, using the tool we developed, I search with different vocabulary associated with pastoralism, like shepherd, sheep, etc., and a certain place, Léoncel, which is an abbey in the French Alps. This is the output. It's a table with pages which are rich in terms and closely associated that were found. So we have here a list of abstracts that were from this output and which are organized and ranked according to the one who are rich into the terms that were searched. And then we can encode these abstracts with the words which they contain, and we can try to visualize the structure of these abstracts. Okay, so it means that these are the words that are the most significant from these abstracts, and the abstracts can be very numerous. And here we have different factors, which could mean bags of abstracts, which you can visualize that are citing different items. So here you have the pasture that are mentioned, okay, and here there is an outgroup, which is kind of abstracts that are in the output, but that are not really relevant from the subject you want. This is some kind of trial that was related in the newspapers involving a shepherd who committed a crime. So it's not really relevant, and you see that it's in outgroup here. Then you have a lot of vocabulary that can emerge and that are relevant to your topics, and you see that there are many topographic places, the cities that are near this abbey. So this is the geographic environment which you can find, and also there is a lot of items that are related to the nobles and gentry of this place. And this is relevant because, in fact, the lands that were owned by the religious people of Léoncel were acquired around along history by donation by noble people from this place. Okay, so you could say that the environmental history of the pastures of Léoncel are tightly connected to the noble families of this place, and you can see it here. Okay, seigneur, chevalier, etc. So this is somehow a twofold interest. So you have a vocabulary which is linked to the environment of what you searched, and also you have the structure of this abstracts. So you can discard some kind of outgroups, and also, it's not very clear here, but you will see another later, you can also see the abstracts that maybe talk about the same things, for example, this one or this one. I will explain this better here. So, okay, I finished. So this maybe will interest you more. It's the application of this kind of procedure to a natural history dictionary. Okay, so we can download this from Galica, and we have a tool that allows us to make a partition of this document according to the different chapters and paragraphs, and then we perform the same kind of analysis. So we have the structure of this encyclopedia with the items that are relevant. For example, here, article is one of the words that are very important for some of the paragraphs, and they are the ones who are connected to the laws of eaux et forêts, which means forest management. Here you have arbres, trees, so you will find the paragraph that deal with trees. This is a forest. Here you will have the documents that deal with forest. Here you have a group of documents, okay, which deal with describing plants. These are the paragraphs which are systematic plant linked, and here you have a coupe, branche, etc. These are the paragraphs which are associated with usage of forest goods, for example, cutting trees, etc., etc. Okay, sorry. Okay, I conclude. Okay, so this toolbox allows to investigate BNF databases and to process the outputs and to visualize those outputs in a structured way, so you can understand environmental relationships between entities. We would like to investigate a natural history corpus with that, and also to use more specific tools like semantic ontology and active and deep learning in order to get better results. Thank you.